Hey dear friends, Mario Cavallo here with the Dragon Roars On. This is my last video sitting here. A group of over 30 Spaniards blind tested a $12,000 front end compared to a like $400, $500 dirt cheap front end through a pair of ATC SCM 12 $2,000 immaculate studio monitors and couldn't tell the frickin' difference. Tomorrow we are leaving for our 3-week trip to go visit family back in the United States, Phoenix, Arizona. I'll be in LA too. And so I'm making this very last video to devastate all of you. I'm devastated with you. This is devastating. Videos on the road will be made with my beautiful new Huawei mobile phone. YouTube video live. That's not important right now. But I'm devastated. Do you think I'm trying to devastate you? I'm devastated because I'm just in the process of picking up and having chosen my immaculate equipment, the Junction JA88D Pure Class A amplifier, best Chinese Pure amp, Pure Class A amp made, amazing. Okay, into the perfectly matched pair of JBL 530 speakers I found inventory. I'm like, that's going to sound such a good, so good soundstage. So I'm unhappy too, but I have to report this. Let's take a look. We start off here with the Behringer A500. Everyone knows it's a cheap $200 power amp and a Sony CD DVD player. I mean, there's not much to say about it. However, lots of reviews have said the Behringer has great sound. I've read other reviews that says it doesn't. Okay, you can look up that stuff on your own. In the meanwhile, it's all been connected together with cheap 15-foot long RCA cables bought at a local shop. You can see the link. The website, by the way, that I'm referencing is Matrix, M-A-T-R-I-X, hi-fi, HIFI.com. This is an entry they did back in 2009. There's the Class A CAP30 phono stage in the front and a YBA2A power stage in the rear. Again, multi-thousands of dollars each. And here comes the CD player, the Wadia 6, which is like, look at the size of the thing. It has handles on it. The Wadia 6 20-bit CD transport. I don't know what to say. And then connected together with the most expensive. There's the thick professional XLR cables. And you'll see in the next photo coming up the beautiful power cable. Of course, there's your audiophile stands that the expensive stuff needs to be placed on. And finally, we have, of course, there they are, the ATC SCM 12 speakers. By the way, some kind of exact ribbon speaker cable was used for both sets. What could be simpler than asking which system sounds best? Allowing 2 at a time each to listen to the systems, and you can see they hid the system, right? And then they take away the system. They're going to take away the cover. I'll show you in a second. There you go. So there's the systems. You can see the 3 expensive pieces on their separate equipped pieces, and then you can see the A50 on the left, the A50 amp and the Sony's DVD CD player sitting on the old wooden rickety chair, and a couple of buddies volunteering to reach underneath and switch the inputs into the speakers. That's it. Very simple. Okay? Not knowing either way and just asking the simple question, just which sound do you like better? Which do you prefer? That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. Not what's what, just which one sounds better. Okay, and finally, we'll take a quick look. There it is again. One more look at the systems sitting there. The 3 expensive pieces, each on their separate racks. And there's the A50 and A500 and the Sony DVD CD player sitting on top of the rickety chair. To have discovered this is mind-boggling, and I'm not going to read it to you. I've included the screenshots here, but you can go to the website and read the whole thing yourself on your own. The point is, the final result. Can you imagine being those guys sitting there and being asked which one sounds better? And you just choose, and there's the result. Let's pay attention together and realize how this test supports some very, very important and often repeated conclusions about sound systems, low level, medium level, and high level. And here's what those conclusions are. This first conclusion is amazing, isn't it? If you have $700, spend $500 on the amplifier and spend $200 on the speakers, right? Completely wrong. And now if this story is a story of anything, it's that story right there. That's the conclusion, the main conclusion. You spend $500 on the nicest speakers you can buy. That would be the Unify F5s in the $500 range, right? Some of the clips, some of the caps, what are they? R300s, R this, R that, Q this, Q that. You know which ones, RPM this, that. You know which ones they are in the $500 range. And you know you can buy lots of cheap watts, okay, like a Behringer A500 or some other, and by the way, again, that's what Z over Z Reviews uses, right? So, hey, cheap watts with really nice speakers. Come on, conclusion number one. Conclusion number two, changing out to fancy speaker cables and wires of all sorts makes a small difference. It changes the small qualities of the sound. And for most people on most average systems, you can't even hear a sound difference. That's disturbing to some degree. I had my Shengya hybrid tube integrated amp and CD player connected to my Triangle Xerius 202 speakers. I changed the cheap cables out for Moro Audio SP4 speaker wires and Moro Audio MA3 RCA connects. And they were not overly expensive, and I thought it sounded cleaner. I thought the highs were cleaner. I thought the bass was tightened up. I noticed no other differences. But the difference I just described to you, even I admit, was very subtle. Okay? So the average person coming in and listening to my system would just think it sounds great anyway, even with the cheap cables. That's not the place to spend your big money. Okay, that's that. Let's remember this was a total of 38 gentlemen trying to figure out which system sounded best. 14 chose one, 14 chose the other, and 10 couldn't decide. I mean, that's quite incredible. But both systems were running through fantastic speakers. Your speakers are the most important selection in your system. So we're not going to talk about what happens when you change the tube amps. We know it changes the sound. It's tubes, okay? Or Class D. We know it changes the sound. It's Class D. Okay, and we're not going to even talk about pure Class A. If you go to pure Class A, it changes the sound. This we know. It's not an A-B comparison. Okay, I'm going to read this to you. The A-B comparison. And the A-B comparison, I was reading, I'm not going to say who what, I was reading a test review of amplifiers, and I read this. I'm going to read this to you, please. As I have said and written innumerable times during my tests, any two amplifiers with high input impedance, low output impedance, flat frequency response, and sufficiently low distortion and noise will sound exactly the same at matched levels, if not clipped. You know, honestly, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, I'm going to stop. But you notice the thing, though, with all those requirements. So in other words, I bought, and I'm referring to my old system as an example. You bought nicer stuff, and it sounded better than the old stuff. That's because the old stuff was too cheap. I had this Yamaha receiver, and it was a cheap receiver. It was like $120, and I bought it here in China. Then I bought my Shengya. This is years ago. I no longer have any of these systems. The Shengya integrated hybrid tube amp, which cost me $600, and under the Vincent brand name in Europe is $1,500 or euros. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, and I immediately heard that amp sounded better than that amp. Well, that's because that amp was inadequate. This comment and this test assumes, in other words, the A500 has at least the minimum level of full bandwidth, sufficiently low noise and distortion system basics, so that when you are listening to some average song through nice speakers at an average volume level, and you plug in a $20,000 Macintosh or a $5,000, I don't know, pick it, okay, Class A something, or I don't know, pick whatever damn brand name you want to pick, or a $2,000 something, or a $500 something, or a $200 Crown or Behringer. Okay, if you're just listening at normal volume level, it doesn't matter, and they're going to sound 95. I'll say 95%. They're going to sound the same. You're going to listen to it and go, okay, it's just music at an average level. That's all it is. Can't argue with it. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going to leave it right there. In fact, I am going to stop right there at those three conclusions. And now I want to ask you, what are your conclusions that you come to that you can add to the conversation? Leave your comments down in the comment section. Of course, please subscribe, hit the notifications button. We're working very hard on this side to make this a great channel for all of you. And thank you again very much.